This video is brought to you by Raid Shadow Legends. This is it. This is the iPhone we have all been asking Apple to make, and we've been waiting years for them to finally release. And you know how every year someone always says, oh, just wait till next year, that iPhone will be better, or one day Apple's gonna finally, totally redo the iPhone? Well, 2020 is supposed to be that year. The iPhone 12 is supposed to check all the boxes. It's supposed to have a new design, it's supposed to have 5G support, a smaller notch, and a whole lot more. And as we get closer and closer to the iPhone 12's launch this fall, we're learning some new things. Some good and some not so good, but we'll get to that. I'm Robert Rosenfeld with the Apple Circle, and this is everything you need to know about the iPhone 12 and iPhone 12 Pro. So let's kick things off with probably the biggest change the iPhone 12 is going to get, and that is in terms of its design. And we haven't really seen the iPhone evolve or really change in terms of design since we got the iPhone 10 back in 2017. The XS and 11 have stayed pretty much the same or really close to that original design we saw 3 years ago, but not this year. And we are hearing from everyone on this topic, from anonymous sources to credible longtime analysts like Ming-Chi Kuo, that the iPhone 12 is getting a big design overhaul, getting some cues from both the past and the present. It's supposed to take the squared edge stainless steel frame from the iPad Pro and bring that over to the iPhone. It also takes some cues from the iPhone 4 we saw 10 years ago, with some sharp corners and more of an industrial look. I know that this is one of my all-time favorite iPhone designs. I loved the way the iPhone 4 looked, and I'm super excited to see at least some of that DNA come to the new iPhone 12 series. So let me take a quick break from all this iPhone 12 news to tell you about this video's sponsor, Raid Shadow Legends, and a brand new feature coming to the game. So if you have not heard of Raid Shadow Legends, which who hasn't at this point, it's like the ultimate free-to-play game, let me prepare you a little bit. You are going to be entering into the journey of a lifetime by going into a very dark world, a world full of war and bosses and battles, heroes and villains, where the only way to win is to fight it out. And one of my favorite features of Raid Shadow Legends are shards. There are good shards and there are bad shards, but the cool thing about the game is that you can use either for some useful things. So let's go ahead and open up 3 shards for ourselves and see what we get. So let's kick it off with an ancient shard, and we are going to get, Stout Axeman, very nice. He's got a high HP, he's rare, and some pretty awesome skills. Next up, let's do a void shard. We are going to get, the Confessor, another very, very good option. Last but not least, let's do one more ancient shard, and we are going to get, the Courtier. This one is rare, it's great for attack. This is another awesome champion to have. And by the time you're watching this video, a brand new feature is live in the game right now called Tag Team Arena, and it is really gonna put your skills to the test. So instead of a single 4 versus 4 battle like in Classic Arena, this is a series of 3 4 versus 4 battles. It's like Arena, but on hard mode, and whoever wins 2 of the 3 battles wins the entire series. So if you want to learn more about Raid Shadow Legends, check out the link down in the video description, and if you're a new player, click that link because there are some special goodies waiting for you that you're gonna want to take advantage of. Sign up and you'll get 100,000 silver, 1 energy refill, 10 mystery shards, and 1 free champion, Slasher. Some other big design news is that the notch is finally getting smaller. The notch has not really changed its pretty obnoxious size since it was debuted in 2017 with the iPhone 10, but now finally 3 years later, it's gonna get a little smaller. Not a whole lot smaller, it's not gonna become invisible, the tech is not going under the display, but it is gonna get about 1/3 smaller than the current size that we have right now, though it should give you at least a little bit more usable screen real estate at the top of your display. And speaking of displays, there is going to be a lot of changes to the screens of both the iPhone 12 and iPhone 12 Pro. Take a look at this graphic. This will kind of help better illustrate my point, because what I want to show you is that we're getting 4 new phones this year. The big takeaway here is that there's going to be a different, smaller size to the iPhone 12 series. So we're going to get a 5.4-inch screen model, should be the perfect, smaller, one-handed iPhone to use, and the 6.1-inch display is going to stay as well. But we're also hearing some weird rumors that Apple might bring the naming moniker from the Pro over to the 12. So there'd be the iPhone 12, that'd be the smaller one, and the iPhone 12 Max for the 6.1-inch version. Kind of weird to say, that's gonna take some getting used to, but it might actually happen this year. And taking a look at the 12 Pro, it's kind of interesting to see that all of the Pro models are getting bigger. So the 5.8-inch iPhone 11 Pro we have right now is getting replaced by the 6.1-inch iPhone 12 Pro. That will be the smallest Pro end phone you can buy from Apple. And then moving up, we're getting a just gigantic 12 Pro Max. It's gonna go up from 6.5 we have right now up to 6.7 inches. So the iPhone 12 is getting a smaller variant, and the iPhone 12 Pro, those screens are just getting bigger going into 2020. And wrapping up display with a little bit more good news, this is the year we are finally going to go, or supposed to go, all OLED across the board in terms of iPhone. So say goodbye, wave goodbye to the Liquid Retina LCD from the 10R and the 11. So if you're keeping track at home, you might notice that right now, the 12 and 12 Pro sound kind of like the same phone. They're getting some different screen sizes, but they're gonna supposedly share the same design. They're gonna have updated screens. They're gonna have a smaller notch. What's really different about the 12 and 12 Pro besides maybe some new deep blue color? Well, it looks like one of the biggest features the iPhone 12 Pro and Pro Max will get that the iPhone 12s will not is Apple's Pro Motion Display. We've seen this on the iPad Pro for the last couple of years, and we've heard rumors that it's going to come to the iPhone, but it looks like this is finally the year that Apple is going to do this. This is essentially just a 120 hertz refresh rate. We've seen this on a number of different Android phones over the years, and although it might not be a big game-changing feature, it is pretty cool to have on a phone, and it does make your phone feel a whole lot quicker, snappier, and just a little bit more responsive. Let's talk about some of the other differences between the 12 and the 12 Pro on the back of the new phones with the new camera systems. Now, of course, every year Apple always touts that the cameras have gotten better, the software, smart HDR processing has gotten better. We can expect the same for all iPhone 12s this year, but there are some subtle differences to take note of. Of course, the 12 is still only packing 2 cameras, so an ultra wide and a wide, while the Pro has 3, wide, ultra wide, and telephoto lenses. The iPhone 12 Pro series is also rumored to pack a special LiDAR sensor on board as well. We've seen this with the new 2020 iPad Pros, and although we really don't know what Apple could exactly use this for, some immediate benefits kind of come to mind, maybe some better data points for portrait mode. They make portrait mode a little bit more accurate and make that background blur and bokeh just a little bit better and a little bit more natural, and maybe even some more data for the camera to utilize for processing, for night shots, for stuff like that. There's a lot of different abilities and uses for this LiDAR scanner, and if true, I'm super curious to see what Apple exactly does intend to do with it on the new 12 Pro series. We're also hearing from some analysts that the largest iPhone Apple's gonna make, the iPhone 12 Pro Max, is gonna pack inside some special sensor shift image stabilization technology that would basically bring stabilization to the entire camera sensor instead of just the individual lenses. So in theory, all the camera lenses on the iPhone 12 Pro Max would be stabilized, including the ultra wide that currently right now lacks any sort of stabilization. That would be super cool to see added to the iPhone if that rumor is in fact true. All right, so there's obviously a lot changing on the outside of the iPhone 12 series, but what about what's changing inside? Let's get into that. So both of these phones are rumored to be running off of the brand new Apple A14 processor, which we don't know a whole lot about what this is gonna do or what it's capable of, but it is gonna be extra important because this will be the first new processor that Apple is releasing and will be announcing since they announced at WWDC that they're planning to move the Mac to their own Apple Silicon. So everyone's gonna be keeping an extra eye on the efficiency and the power of this new chip inside of all these new iPhones. We should obviously see some improvements to the battery life. We see that every year. It's probably not gonna be anything crazy, but we should see something, even if it's a little small. And we also should get some more RAM in the Pro phones. So the iPhone 12 is gonna stick with 4 gigs across the board, but the 12 Pro, both phones should move up. So the 12 Pro and 12 Pro Max will get 6 gigs now, up from 4 that we've seen the past couple of years. And last but certainly not least, all the 2020 iPhones are expected to be 5G capable. Rumor has it that Apple is going to be installing the Qualcomm X55 modem into these phones, which not only gives you both sub-6 and millimeter wave 5G, so both of the big flavors of 5G, but also support for any network operator. So this should in fact, in theory, work on Verizon, AT&T, Sprint, T-Mobile, all the big ones in the US, as well as any of the operators offering 5G internationally. So in theory, your iPhone 12 or 12 Pro should be 5G capable on any network operator that supports it anywhere in the world. All right, so we have pretty much covered everything you need to know about the iPhone 12 and 12 Pro, but there are still 3 questions we need to answer. When is it coming? How much is it gonna cost? And for the first time ever, what is or is not going to be in the box with your new iPhone. So in terms of release date, Apple has kind of stuck to the tried and true for the past couple of years. They always announce the new iPhone lineup in kind of the mid-September timeframe, and they release the phone at the end of September. This has varied over year to year. There have been some changes and some oddities, but this is typically what Apple has stuck to for the past couple of years. But this year is going to be different. Obviously, with the whole pandemic and a lot of things in the world not exactly normal, the iPhone timeline might not be normal as well. We've heard from numerous sources and analysts that the internal timeline for the iPhone's production has gotten shifted. Therefore, the announcement of the iPhone has gotten shifted as well. So we might not see the iPhone 12 and 12 Pro be announced and launched until October or possibly even November. Though take that with a grain of salt, because we've also heard some rumors, this is recent, that everything's back to normal. The iPhone 12 and 12 Pro will still be launching in September, and Apple's been able to kind of do some course correction and get everything back on track. We don't know what's for certain and what is not for certain, but you can probably expect the new iPhone 12 to come, of course, this fall, maybe a little later in September into October if things do happen to change around. Also, there is some controversy going around online on what is or is not going to be included in the box with the iPhone 12 and 12 Pro. So many months ago, we heard that Apple might stop shipping their wired earpods in with the phones, and that kind of got some flack online, but everyone was pretty okay with that. We kind of understood why. But what people are a little divided about is the new rumor that Apple will not be shipping a power brick in the box. So you would just get maybe a USB-C to Lightning cable, you'd get the phone, the manual, and that is it. And there are kind of two arguments, two sides to this story, and I kind of see a little bit of both. On one hand, this is Apple maybe taking an environmental approach, being a little bit more conscious not to make e-waste and not to make millions upon millions, tens of millions of these plastic bricks that most likely might not be used and just kind of sit around in a box for no one to ever use or take advantage of. Eliminating that would eliminate a lot of unnecessary e-waste and could be a good thing for the environment. I see that. On the other hand, you have people arguing that this is just an Apple scenario that's very typical. Apple nickel and diming their customers, and Apple just trying to squeeze a little bit more money out of the customers by making them buy something that should have been and used to be included in the box with previous iPhones. We don't know exactly what is going to happen on this front. It could be included, it could not be. That is kind of up in the air right now, though I will mention there was another rumor we heard that Apple was working to ship a 20-watt fast charger with the iPhone 12 Pro. We even saw pictures of this, so at this point, I don't know what to believe. I don't know who to believe. I guess we'll just have to wait for the fall and the keynote to see exactly what or what is not coming in the box with the new iPhone 12 and iPhone 12 Pro. In terms of pricing, everything should stay pretty much similar to what we've seen in years past. So the iPhone 12 would start at $649. The iPhone 12 Max, it still sounds really weird to say, would start at $749. The iPhone 12 Pro would start at $999, and the iPhone 12 Pro Max would start at $1099. Though we are hearing some good news potentially that the base storage for all the iPhone models will no longer be 64 gigs, but across the board will be 128 gigs on all iPhone 12 models. That would be great if true. I would love to see the base storage get higher. As someone who always buys the base storage, I will never complain about having more storage. So if that's true, thank you in advance. And that's everything we currently know about the iPhone 12 and iPhone 12 Pro. A lot of exciting stuff to look forward to. And if we kind of put all the rumors and all the debates aside for a second, regardless of where everything lands, this should be the biggest year for the iPhone we've seen since the iPhone 10 in 2017. This should be a really big year for the iPhone, and I am super excited, I'm sure like many of you guys, to see what Apple is going to launch this fall. And if you're sitting there thinking you don't want this video to end, you want some more Apple news, some more Apple talk, I've got some good news for you. Myself and Matt Gonzalez host the Apple Circle podcast. It is a weekly Apple podcast delving into every facet of the world of Apple. We talk news, we talk rumors, we speculate, we complain. Anything about Apple, we basically cover in that 1 hour weekly podcast. So if you haven't checked it out, I would recommend you do so and subscribe, please. It would really mean a lot to myself and Matt. We will leave a link to that down below. And once you do that, you are officially free to go. That is it. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I am Robert Rosenfeld. Thank you, and I will see you in the next one.